Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss American Trading, as you see on your screen there. Thank you for tuning into our podcast, The Secret War on Cash, where we take a good hard look at some of the things that are taking shape or developing in our financial markets, economy, both domestic as well as global. And I do this with my co-host, Chris Agelastos, who will be popping in here in a moment. Chris, there he is. Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Can't believe January is nearly done here.
January is nearly done. It feels like only a blink of an eye ago, we were talking about Christmas, but this month has seemed
Yeah,
like 6 months in one. So it's the weirdest thing. Like
that's
time has
nutty.
flown and holidays were just here, but it seems like we're well underway already. We have a new president this year, which I think a lot of people by the numbers are very happy about.
Yeah,
And he's been making some waves, right? Made waves as we have talked about prior to even taking office, and continues to make waves. So let's jump right into it here. Looking at our first article, very good question. Can Trump save the dollar? The dollar has been, as we've talked about on many of our podcasts, really struggling, losing favor as the reserve currency, it would seem. And, can Trump save the dollar? Excellent question. The dollar definitely needs some kind of help. And the big thing is one person or is this administration going to does it have enough power, pull, or leeway to save it? I mean, there's a lot
yeah.
going on here. So what are your thoughts? And tell us a little bit about what they're talking about here.
Well, I do like the fact that he, at the very least, is talking about what's going on with the dollar and the possibility that we, could lose reserve currency status because the previous administration didn't really want to acknowledge it. So, and Trump's been pretty vocal, at least through his election campaign, talking about the troubles with the dollar and wanting to get things on track. So we very obviously do have an issue. We've talked about Saudi Arabia, trading oil and other currencies. We know BRICS has been developing their new payment system. China's dumping U.S. treasuries. So obviously there's a problem. Trump is acknowledging it. I think that's the first step of going into fixing it. Now, what he's going to have to do to save the dollar. I mean, certainly manage it more competently, right? We can't just print and create new money and inflate our way out of all of our problems. So that's going to be the one of the big things he's going to need to do is manage our dollar better, and probably stop weaponizing it,
Right.
with sanctions and things like that. So, but even doing those things, we've got it's a tough road to hoe, as they say. There's been some talk of maybe backing the dollar with gold again, and that could certainly give it more stability. So there are things he could do, but so far the biggest things he's been talking about are tariffs. Using tariffs to sort of threaten nations, and hope that that's a big enough threat that they won't ditch the dollar. But then again, that can backfire, kind of like it has with Russia and sanctions. So I don't know if he's going to do it, but I at least like that he is talking about it and he's making an effort, and that's a heck of a lot more than the previous administration seemed to do.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's in fact, I think it gets into that a little bit in this article, talking about how, I mean, it seemingly the Biden administration just kind of turned a blind eye and a deaf ear to the whole
Yeah,
situation. And it's not something the dollar has been losing ground, if you will, in terms of being the reserve currency for quite some time. In fact, in the graph that for those of you tuning in, if you click on the link, you can pull this article up. You'll see the graph showing how much of the US treasuries that China has been unloading over the years. And this all plays into that. But at the end of the day, it wasn't a problem created by Biden, but he did everything in his power, it would seem, to accelerate or exacerbate the problem.
Yeah,
And to your point, at least the Trump administration is addressing this issue and trying to do something about it. Now, the $1 million question, well, in today's day and age, the $1 trillion question would be, are they going to be able to do anything? Because, and in fact,
yeah,
let's get right into the next article here. As we talk about what's going on with BRICS and what's going on with, again, these other countries not utilizing or looking to the dollar like they did in the past. We've got Morgan Stanley here on this Bloomberg article that finds a quote silent plurality ready to sell the dollar. And this actually speaks, Chris, to me, anyways, as to one of my main bigger concerns, I would say, in this whole equation is that, we Trump's going in there talking about tariffs, and he's got a full plate on all the things that he has to deal with.
hmm
But you also have, like, when you're talking about more Morgan Stanley and like the private sector or investors out there, that they're watching this whole thing too, and it's not just here domestically, but globally. This is a problem that has a lot of different, it's a big spider web. There's just a lot of dynamic involved to this whole deal.
hmm
And that's something that when Morgan Stanley talking about this silent plurality, which I think is a very interesting term or description that they're using,
hmm
where it's like they're literally waiting to make their move. They're waiting to do something based on whatever they see happening or perhaps perceive a problem happening. And that to me is concerning. And I mean, what would shift something like this, or what's going to change something like this from happening?
Well, they're keeping an eye on what Trump is actually going to implement because as we know, he definitely shares his opinion loudly and often. And what they're really going to focus on is what does he actually do versus what is he saying? Because we know a lot of it is smoke. I mean, he uses these things for negotiation, and it's a good tactic and whatnot. But he's not actually going to do everything he says. So there are still a lot of hedge funds, kind of piling into backing the dollar and pulling for it. But there are a lot of people kind of on the sidelines. And what they're saying here is, you only hear about the people that are talking good about the dollar for the most part in public, and that there are a lot of people, just waiting to short the dollar. And in fact, Morgan Stanley, this analyst, is actually recommending shorting the dollar against the euro and the yen this year,
Right.
and sterling, the pound sterling too. So, he's convinced that, and has convinced Morgan Stanley as an organization that the dollar is going to lose ground here. So, we'll see. What's gonna happen, but it does go to show you that even though it's easy to turn on the news and pretty much hear positive news, and I think about the dollar because I think a lot of people don't want to bash it, or maybe would even seem unpatriotic. A lot of people don't like to admit that there are problems with our currency, and there certainly are. So yeah, we're gonna have to watch it. But I mean, Morgan Stanley has come out and said that they think the dollar is going to lose ground this year, and that's kind of a big move in the investment world for them to make that statement.
Oh, 100%. Well, jumping back to the previous article, just for discussion purposes,
hmm
that's what's kind of concerning is the conclusion to that initial article was that, and you mentioned this, how the real fix is switching to a gold backed currency, and they even said
Yeah.
100% backed by gold currency.
hmm
And theoretically or in concept, that is, they're right, and that's fantastic. But understand that's not just going to happen. And even if something like that did happen, it's not going to happen smoothly. There's going to be some kind of a fallout that would have to occur, because there has to be a reset basically on the debt and our existing currency, et cetera. And that's where, having something that is tangible like gold in your hands, or tangible assets of any kind during a transitional period like this, is critical important. So With
Yeah.
that said, Chris, if people want to find out more about how to get into gold or learn more about the gold market, what could they do?
Visit us at our website. That's probably the best way these days. It's www.swissamerica.com. You can also call or text us at 1-800-289-2646. We'll just get a little basic contact info, send you out a packet, kind of customized for your needs and concerns. I think most people these days want to know, how do I protect myself? Should I diversify into metal? What percentage is appropriate? All of those things. So we'll help
Right.
educate you and answer some questions, and if it's a good fit, help you all the way through the process.
Fantastic. Well, if you haven't contacted Swiss America, do so. You've got the toll-free number there. You've got the website. It's in the program description. And we thank you for tuning in. If you're not subscribed to this podcast, please do so. And we look forward to bringing you some more information like this at some time here in the near future. Have a great rest of your day.
Take care.